Hey guys, welcome back to Jason Unleashed. Jason Carter here. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Glad to be here with you guys. The weekend is here, and I thought I would close out this week with someone who is going to put a smile on your face, and her energy is so infectious, and she's one of the most incredible women I know. She is Courtney Tezeno, co-host of E's Close-Up on Quibi, and a dear friend, and just an all-around kick-ass individual. Her testimony and her journey and who she is as a woman is simply marvelous, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear this conversation between me and a wonderful woman. So let me bring her in. She just waved. She said, hi. Hey, Court. Let's go live with Courtney right now. Let's see. Live with Courtney Tezeno. Going live with Courtney Tezeno.
I'm just over here like, what? That's so sweet.
Hi. Courtney, hi.
Hey, let me fix.
Square up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on? I don't do this live stuff. You know that, Jason.
You look awesome. Hi, Deidre
Thanks,
Behar.
man.
Deidre Behar says, big Courtney fan here.
Hey,
Courtney,
Deidre.
we love Dee and we love you, Courtney. Courtney, welcome to Jason Unleashed. A pleasure and an honor, and I'm freaking elated to have you here.
I just feel like we're gonna talk like friends. You know that, Jason.
Well, yeah, I know. I have to welcome you to the show. Look, you know what happens, but Court, good to see you. How you doing?
You too. Good. Everything's good over here. I honestly feel like that's more of a loaded question now that we're in a pandemic, but today's a good day.
Today is a good day. How is love in the time of quarantine with you being engaged with your amazing fiance, Jolie? How are things going?
Things are good with us. I feel like the pandemic has definitely made us stronger. We've been together 7 years, so we've kind of had like all the ups and downs, and we didn't think this would happen while we're planning our wedding. But our relationship's good. Our wedding is postponed, so we're like a lot of people. I'm now a COVID bride, something I didn't want to be. But our relationship's good. We're solid.
Solid as a rock. Good to hear. I had that I don't know what made me want to bust out in song, but I digress. Whatever. Courtney, again, I know you. We're friends, and we've had so many great conversations about career and just life and faith and whatnot. But a lot of people don't know you because they don't have the opportunity to connect the way we'd want to, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about your journey into becoming. I call you an institution in television because I will never forget being with you at the Image Awards red carpet and just the bevy and gaggle of celebrities that were like, Courtney, good to see you, Courtney. I was just like, it's the future Oprah. But your journey has been one that has been filled with ups and downs, triumphs and failures. Take us to you being a Houstonian, a Houston girl, deciding that you're going to embark on a career in an industry that works like no other.
I mean, you summed up a lot in one thing, but yeah, starting in Houston, that's actually where I realized I wanted to do media. In high school, I was in this program called the Hightower High School Media Academy, where we learned everything from film, TV, our junior year, senior year. And my professor is actually someone who encouraged me to go into journalism in college after I did great as a producer on our newscast in high school. Technically my first anchor role was in high school as our entertainment host, and he forced me to do it. I'm such a extroverted introvert, and I love it doing all the behind the scenes stuff. So my professor, Ted Irving, he was somebody that pushed me to do that. And then I went on to the University of Missouri. They have the first journalism school, and I would say the number one.
Yeah. Some would argue though. Some would say Syracuse.
Yeah,
but...
yeah, no. But I ended up going to Mizzou, and that's really where I cut my teeth. That's where I learned what it meant to be a journalist and being unbiased and sharing both sides of the story and just everything that goes into being a good storyteller. But then I also realized I didn't want to be a local news reporter after 3 years of doing that and having to just tell these gruesome stories. I was like, no, I want to share my personality. Like, I don't want to have to cut my hair and, look like I'm 40 when I'm 20 years old, and just all the things that I did. I respect the hustle of local news reporters, but it just wasn't for me. And I knew that after I denied one of my first opportunities to work for a local news station in Missouri And yeah, I moved back home with my parents. And then 3 months later, I moved to Los Angeles to pursue this crazy career in entertainment journalism.
Which is insane. I mean, I don't know what our mental faculties must be to want to do it because it's not the glamour and the glitz that a lot of people see when you're live on television. We'll get to that. You came to LA and you get here, and
Hmm.
like a lot of people, you get here with $300 and a car, and you're like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready. You think it's easy, but it rears its ugly head very quick. I know for myself, my car was repoed in the first year of being here. So the
What?
struggle, girl, yeah, yes, yeah, broke, broke, broke. And I look back now, like 20 years later, and think, oh, that was so fun. But in that time, I wasn't
Mm.
prepared for the beast that is LA. Did you have similar experiences?
Yeah, I think most of us did. I initially came out here to help a family friend. I had known them since I was like a little girl, and the family friend had these two kids who were trying to be actors. So essentially, I came out here and was like a nanny while also working in retail at DSW on Hollywood Boulevard, which is now shut down, which tells you how long I've been here. And that ended up not working out. They were kind of in between whether they wanted to stay in Los Angeles and go in between LA and Houston. So they ended up moving back to Houston, and I was kind of just out in these streets, literally.
Yeah.
Like, I had my car. I called my car Latte. Anyone that went to college with me knows. Like, my Mazda Protege got me through, y'all.
It was a protege. Good for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. No, but I ended up sleeping in my car after they ended up moving back to Houston. I slept out of my car and was just trying to figure out how to make my retail job make enough money to get my own place because I didn't really know anyone out here.
Whoa, Corp. So essentially, I mean, you've never told this to me. You were homeless, essentially, living out of your car.
Yeah.
Where did you shower? Like, how did you make that work?
So if anyone is in Los Angeles and knows Hollywood Boulevard, DSW and LA Fitness are like right next to each other. So I had an LA Fitness membership when I came out here because I was also still competing in pageants. So I still had to stay fit and all of that. All I had was my retail job, my car that had been paid off since high school, and just faith. And I just kept looking for places and it didn't work out. And I lived in my car for about 2.5 months while figuring it out. And yeah, it was tough. I lived in I used to sleep in the weirdest areas that were not safe. I would never recommend that, but I didn't know Los Angeles. I was very new to the
Yeah.
area, so I was like legit living off faith in that scenario. But when you come out here and you're pursuing your passions, you're not even thinking about it. You're not
Right.
feeling like, you don't feel bad for yourself. You're like, this is the hustle. This is what I got to do. And so that's how I felt until I ended up getting into, the room for rent situations
Hmm.
and all of the stuff that comes with that. But yeah, I really wanted this to work out. So I slept in my car.
Corp, I didn't know that. I for two girl, I could see like you hear people of stories like, yeah, I was in my car for 2 months as a young woman in a city that isn't the safest, isn't very forgiving, all because of your passion and your faith, which your faith, you're one of the most faith driven and faithful people I know. And I mean, every time we've had a conversation about, tough times or just moving forward, you always step out in faith. How did you galvanize that muscle? How did you flex that muscle? Where does that strength and that belief come from? Who set that foundation for you?
That's a really good one. Well, anyone that knows me knows I love Jesus. And I think the foundation was laid by my parents because being from the South, most people are raised in
Yeah.
the church, or most Black people I know were raised in the church. And so that was my experience. And as a young girl, the first thing I ever said I wanted to be was a pastor. I don't know if you know that about me, but uh, at 7 years old, I ran into my mom at my mom's room with my grandmother, and I was like, I just want to tell everybody about Jesus. And they were so shocked and confused as to why a 7 year old was like that. But I just enjoyed church. I enjoyed learning about the word. And so faith has always been a part of my foundation since I was a little girl. But I've kind of made it my own thing. I'm not the type of person or the type of Christian that is judgmental or has to go by all of these like super religious ways of thinking. So I think I've changed over time as I've grown and like
Yeah.
experienced different people and being a storyteller. My faith has stayed my foundation, but the way that I navigate the world and religion has changed a bit. But yeah, it's just something that's always been a part of me. It's important to me. It's how I just feel the most like myself whenever I'm like at my lowest. And like you said, we all go through those failures. I feel like if I didn't have my foundation where I could like go to God and truly talk to him, I wouldn't really have anyone that would be there for me the way that he is. And it's just, it's something I always need. And
Hmm.
it's something I preach about because it's what I live.
Right. And there's strength in that because, I mean, hi, Carissa Culliner just joined. Hey, Carissa.
Hey,
Um,
babe.
it's there. It takes a certain person, Courtney, to be able to see and believe in, to be able to believe in what they can't see, right?
Hmm.
And that's exactly what faith is putting everything in something you can't see. And I know for myself, either if it's manifestation, law of attraction, whatever you want to call faith, because everyone has a different interpretation of it. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to be able like to be whoever's up there. I know you got me, and I think that it speaks a lot to who you are as a woman to really be staunch in that because you don't just talk the talk. I've seen you walk the walk, and
Yeah.
that's something to celebrate. You're
But to that point, Jason, I feel like a lot of people think that like God is up there and he's just this knowing person who's gonna fix everything for you. But a lot of times you have to go through things
right,
and people kind of want to skip the hard times to get to the reward. And that's not how faith works. It's like you
right,
put in the work, God's got you always. He's I kind of always think of God as my agent because most people don't know I don't have an agent out here. So he's literally navigated every step of my career and my life.
right.
And that's because I put in the work and he's always got me and I always believe he's got me. So yeah, but
Yeah, on
yeah,
the
I love
no,
God.
praise him. Put in the work. That's what
Yeah.
you've done. That's what you've done. You're sitting in your car working at DSW retail jobs. Transitioning and finally getting your foot in the door in LA is not easy. There's so many different routes you can take. I talked to Hannah Lux Davis, who was a major video director, awesome female director, and she talked about how she got into the biz. But for yourself, your first job, finally been able to make that foray into some aspect of entertainment. What was that for you?
Okay, outside of retail, my first job that I credit these people so much to my career. It was actually a job at Holly Scoop, and it started off as freelance with Diana Madison, Nora, and Ani. And the freelance hustle, you're basically working for free to prove yourself
Sure.
in the beginning. But they believed in me and actually ended up creating a role for me after I freelanced for them for about 9 months. And yeah, I ended up being their red carpet reporter for Holly Scoop that ended up moving into hosting daily with them as a full-time position. But that's really where I learned the red carpet nature and just how fast-paced everything in the entertainment industry can be.
Sure.
And just knowing how to host, produce, right? Like most people think you're just hopping on camera. No, you're doing everything.
Word. Preach.
So yeah,
Yes.
Holly Scoop is where I feel like I learned the most in that space. And I'm so grateful to those women for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, I remember watching on Holly Scoop. I had heard everyone was saying Courtney Tezeno. I prided myself on knowing every host that was coming up. Like
And you
you
didn't
might
know me.
no. People had talked about you, and then I was like Tezeno. That sounds like a Southern name. And then I saw you, and I was like, who's this pageant queen? Why aren't we friends? Why don't we know each other? She worked at AfterBuzz. I was at AfterBuzz. I know every black host. Like, what kind of scheme is this? Why are they keeping me away from you? But that's awesome that you were able to get your feet wet at a place like Holly Scoop, which led you to work at E as a PA.
Yeah.
which a lot
Crazy,
of
right?
no, well, it's not crazy because a lot of people don't know. I mean, it's crazy because of the full circle moment we'll talk about, but a lot of people don't realize that, as you said, it's not about being cute on camera and the end result of presenting to the audience. They don't understand the work that goes into that 5 minutes on camera that's hours before and the
Yeah.
sacrifice that you make. But you decided to become a PA at the benchmark of entertainment news. And what did you learn there? And how did the no's that you got there send you on a different path to where you would ultimately end up?
Oh man. Well, Carissa, if she's still in here, Carissa is part of the reason why I ended up getting that job as a PA. it was a dream to be able to walk into a place like E and just have any role. And so that was one of the most exciting seasons of my life. But when it ended, it was actually one of the most devastating,
Why?
because I remember when I my PA time was ending there was a position that had opened up for a producer role. And I had experience from working at Newsy and working in local news as a producer and as a reporter. So I was like, okay, I have at least 5 years. Like, I gotta get this. So I ended up coming the next day after spending all night making sure my resume was together, my reel, like getting my elevator pitch together for my boss. And I went in there, my boss Giselle at the time, and I pitched myself saying, why I would be the best fit for this producer job. And afterwards, she stopped me and she said, Courtney, I'm going to be honest with you. I need somebody that's going to be able to do this for at least 2 years. And
Mm-hmm.
I know how badly you want to be on camera. I never want to rob you of that dream. I couldn't even hear her because I was like, oh, you said no. Here I come again with another pitch on why
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to do it, and just saying all these things of why I should be, I can be a producer, I can do all of it. But she was right in telling me no in that situation, because had I got stuck in that role, a lot of corporate spaces don't allow you to move from
Yeah.
PA to producer to host, which my co-host Will, he's been able to do that. But for most people in showbiz, that's not the reality. What you come in as is what you end up getting promoted into that space. I just would have been a senior producer for years. So Giselle's someone that her no really helped me move forward in my career. And I needed that no. I needed to brush up on a lot of things. And I'm so happy she told me no. It's devastating at the time, but I'm grateful.
Devastation is the word that I would absolutely use when you hear no, when you really want something, because especially when you feel like you've earned it and we're told by whomever, agents, managers, anyone, people that have been in the biz, that this is what you do. It's much like going to college. You go to
Hmm.
college, you get a degree, you graduate, you get all these credits. This happens for you. There's a game plan and a definitive plan of how to achieve those successes. And so you tend to think of the business that way, as if you
Hmm.
present your elevator pitch, you have a great reel, you have the skill set, you have the foundation, you can do the job, that the job is going to be there for you, or it's going to be automatically handed to you. But you don't realize that, as Sade Spence, who's watching right now, said, that was a blessing, though, right? A
I love
blessing, because
Sade.
yeah, that's a blessing. Also, Carissa says she loves you. We love you back, Carissa.
Oh,
Um,
adore you.
but how did you come back from that devastation? How did you rebound? How did that allow you to grow and heal and come back even stronger and become the phoenix rising from the ashes?
Look, crying. First, just going through the grief of crying that you're not going to get that opportunity. I cried it out with my mom, and both of my parents are people that have always believed in me. But my parents have tough love. And so
Hmm.
after I had like my day or two to feel bad for myself, I still had to work. I had to go and work for free at places, at
Yeah.
certain places we both have worked at. And then Holly School came about, and I just kept hustling, kept putting myself out there, because if this was a no, then there was going to be a yes at some point.
Some
And I
point.
didn't come out here to just waste time. Like I lived in my car, I did all of this stuff. Something has got to come from this. So when Holly Scoop came and other jobs that came after that, that was me being persistent and being resilient. And a lot of people, like, they think it's a compliment when you're like, you're so resilient, you're so strong. But some of the strongest people are have the weakest moments, and the
Hmm.
only reason why they're strong is because they keep pushing forward. And so I've learned that about myself. Even when I'm feeling weak, I'm inspiring someone and I don't know it, and if I stop, then I give them permission to stop. So
Right.
that's why I keep going.
And you keep going. I mean, you've inspired me. I look at your journey as, and one, you're so kind, and I think that's really missing from the industry, especially amongst hosts, and especially amongst Black hosts, because there's this onlyness syndrome, that there can only be one. There can only be one person in this space. So we tend to have this crabs in a bucket mentality that, oh, well, if Courtney makes it, then it's a wrap for me. If Courtney's yes is going to be my forever no. And we internalize that and give that back out by being catty, by being dismissive, by being silent, by by not supporting, retweeting, a myriad of things you can do to show support, but you have never done that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, as Sade Spencer just said, you're one of the sweetest people in the industry. And I
No,
agree
thank
with that
you.
100% because you definitely are. You have worked and lent your talents, Courtney, to the most heralded places in entertainment. I know you probably think, Jason, you're such a host, but no, I'm being completely honest that
No, you're good at your job.
it's you. You have worked at E, and being a PA at E is freaking invaluable because talent needs to realize how the sauce is made before
Hmm.
you can go on air and be the sauce. But you landed at Entertainment Tonight, number one, the most powerful news outlet entertainment wise in the world. How did you get there, and also your growth from there?
Again, it was one of those like God moments where God just aligned the right people from my past to propel my future. A former coworker from Newsy ended up recommending me for the job at ET.
Mhm.
And at the time, I was loyal to Holly Scoop, and I know it sounds so crazy, right?
No, it's
But
not.
I'm
No,
so
it's
loyal.
not. I
I was
know.
loyal to Holly Scoop. I had just signed my contract. I've been working my butt off as a freelancer. Got the full time job, and then I think 4 months into me being full time, ET came, and I had a general meeting, and they wanted me to start. And I was like, oh no, well, well, I want to keep the conversation open, but I just signed this contract. Me just being naive. And long story short, some things happened with my Holly School contract, and I ended up being able to do both jobs. So for about close to a year, I ended up working 7 days a week. I worked at Holly Scoop Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I worked at ET. And that was tough. That was a very tough season of my life. I was very young. I think I was 24, 24 or 25 when I got that job. And I didn't have a life. And that's one thing people don't realize. You sacrifice so much of yourself
Yeah.
to have these dreams. And even though it was ET, this is a dream job, it was a hustle still. Like a
Right.
full-time job means that like you're on salary, you're not getting overtime, and like they own you
They own
basically.
you,
Yeah.
essentially.
Essentially, yeah. But I was really really grateful when that opportunity came. I worked my way up from essentially different shifts. So I started on the night shift. I ended up moving towards like the 5:30 shift and just working my way up as a producer and host. And that I would say that's actually where I cut my teeth in the entertainment news industry because
Hmm.
again, it is number one. It does have this huge reputation, but you can't mess up. And
Right.
so you really learn, especially as a producer, some of the behind the scenes stuff you grow. And that's definitely where I grew as a producer and host.
I couldn't agree with that more. Entertainment Tonight, I mean, we both work together at that outlet, and it's definitely a master's class in journalism, a master's class in being your best self on camera in a space that's very fast paced, 24-hour news cycle. It really puts you through your paces, but I think that's a blessing to be able to have that experience and walk away from that because you've had to walk away from a lot of things in regards to moving forward in your career and having the faith to know what's next. But at during your time and your growth as a host, one thing that really stuck out about you before I even knew you was how you decided to be Courtney authentically, natural hair. Said I'm done trying to be the stereotypical black female host. Let me just stand in my
Hmm.
truth and just be who I am. What was that moment where you said, I'm done? Take Courtney as she is, or you don't get her at all.
Oh, it was a buildup. I think for a lot of Black people, we reach breaking points in our lives where we just say "F it."
Yeah.
And there was a moment, and it was right before my birthday, where I just walked in with my natural hair. I was tired of the wigs. I was tired of ruining the health of my hair, and I knew that if you wanted me as a host and producer, then it doesn't matter what that looks like. Coming from local news where they have these strict rules of how your hair should be, I knew in order to move up in that industry, it had to be a certain way. But in entertainment, no, like you should what I look like should not be a deciding factor on like how talented I am. And so one day I just showed up with my natural hair and my boss, like I passed by, my boss was looking at me like, what's going on with her? But then she turned around and she was like, I like this look on you. Let's keep doing that. And that was the first time I've ever been given permission to be myself. But before getting permission that it was okay, I just showed up.
Right.
Because as Black people, why do we have to continue to dim ourselves down to just be seen as the same playing field as everyone else? No, like this is the hair that grows out of my head. I'm going to make sure that it is, nicely put together, and I'm still doing the work. So what's the complaint?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm very grateful that there wasn't a lot of pushback in that space. But in the local news space, there were times where I was told that my hair was unkept and I couldn't advance as an anchor in that space. So it just really depends on where you're working at and what kind of pushback you get. But my experience was just one day I was fed up. I said, this is what you're going to get. I'm still doing my job. And that was it.
I hate when I'm back. We're back. They were calling me. Whenever you get a phone
Okay.
call and you're on a live, it's the worst. You showed up, you took a risk. The conversation of, and I hate to say risk because it shouldn't be a risk to be who you are that God intended you to be, but the
It is a
conversation,
risk.
and I know, and that's the shitty part. That's what's ridiculous about it. The conversation now, though, Court, is very, very relevant about, women in media now wearing their natural hair, women of color now being who they are. You have people who, I mean, look in the comments right now, they're celebrating you, that really look to you to be a beacon of inspiration. They see you as a beacon of inspiration. You are someone who they look up to show them a way. What are the conversations that you have with your fans about your Blackness? Because Blackness is a thing in 2020. And again, I hate saying that. And I had a whole argument with someone, but the truth of the matter is Black is becoming trendy again, which I don't like, but here we are. And what are those conversations that you have with your fans, and how do they reach out to you, and how do you offer support to them?
A lot of people reach out to me via DM or email, and I have to say, if I have not responded to your emails, it is not on purpose. I am a person that likes to connect on a one-on-one level with people, so that's why I struggle in that area. But girls that come to me and they're thinking about either moving from local news to entertainment news, I give my experience, but I also need to know where you're at, because everybody's experience is different. And especially being in a space where you're a Black journalist, sorry, my friend was calling, especially in a space where you're a Black journalist, like a lot of us don't have anybody to go to. So when girls come to me and they're thinking about either doing a big chop or going natural or having fears or hesitations about it, I don't necessarily encourage you to just do it how I did. I kind of want to get a sense of where you are in your career, whether this could be detrimental. I'm not going to give you advice and say, girl, just show up, and then now you don't have a job. So it really is a case-by-case scenario whenever girls reach out to me, but I feel like I am an example. I'm a living example of someone who just went out and did it. So even though my advice isn't just go and do it for every single person, it's, as Black people, I feel like all of us we're reaching a time where we're all taking more risk and we're all just fed up. And so the advice that I have now is more so on the lines of just do it. But before it wasn't. So I'm sorry that seems like really conflicting, but now I feel like with all the things that are happening and more corporations are being held accountable for their actions, how many Black people they have on staff, not discriminating against people, especially when it comes to their look, I think there's more freedom in it. So I would encourage you, if that's how you want to show up, just, be ready for the backlash that you're going to get. Like, if that's something you feel passionate about, you feel it represents you, then be ready to talk about it and why. We can't just walk in spaces and, you come in with braids or curly hair and your boss not say something. So just be ready to defend yourself, I would say. I know that's a tough spot to be in, but it is our reality, because a lot of people are under contracts and they have you with a certain look and you have to honor that. But maybe your next contract, it needs to be in there that I switch my hair. I go from a wig to curly. Like, that's a conversation you have to have with your bosses.
Right.
I think
that's awesome that you touch on the business side of being talent, because a lot of talent, they don't realize the power they have when it comes to making those kinds of edits or accommodations, if you will, in your contract, or asking for that. And I think it goes back to value and knowing your worth and knowing what you will and will not stand for. And a lot of talent, sometimes, I know I have, we are so lucky to be validated by getting the job, so lucky to be validated by an agent wanting us or whatever, because as you said earlier,
Hmm.
we have sacrificed so much for this career
Yeah.
that there's no turning back. There's no like it's do or die. There's no plan B. We came to make it, and that sometimes is at all costs, be it the cost of your health, your mental health, whatever. And
Mm.
with mental health, now with everything that's happening, how are you practicing self-care? What do you do to stay sane when you turn on the TV, you get these blasts about a man being shot 7 times in the back, about a young boy being shot, about a non-POC walking freely after murdering people? How do you practice self-care, Court?
Jason, what? Oh my God. It's hard. It really, for me, it's been very difficult. There are moments where I feel like I can speak up and it can help other people, but you have to know when it's time for you to shut it off, because right now what Black people are experiencing is a collective trauma,
Yeah.
and that has to
Yes.
be treated on a case by case scenario. Like, I can't scroll all day and see the video be circulated and be okay. I have to take time, be with my fiance, talk to a friend, sit with myself, and I have to make sure I'm okay before I keep the fight going. And sadly, if we don't speak up, if we don't say something about it, then no one's going to say anything. So I think as Black people, we really have to be mindful of when it's becoming a detriment to our mental health.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm such a huge advocate for mental health, taking those times. Look, get a therapist. I know the waiting list is probably long right now, but those things are so important. And I want to speak on Jacob Blake specifically, because we keep seeing this happen time and time again with Black people being murdered and just all this senseless violence. But you know what I'm sick of, Jason? I'm sick
Hmm.
of there having to be context behind why a man is shot. I
Right.
think that's where
Yes.
why do we need to know what his background was when the man was shot 7 times? I think if you're a part of the Black Lives Matter movement, let's stop trying to figure out the whole backstory. And I know this seems weird saying it from a journalist perspective, because you want to share both sides of the story, but how many more people are going to have to die before we feel like it's, oh, he deserved this. He deserved to
Right.
be shot 7 times. No. For Black people that are trying to fight the fight, just know when to shut it off at some point. You are not doing a disservice to your culture by turning it off for a moment and then coming back and fighting the fight and sharing resources. I just feel like it shouldn't be our burden every time to have to keep going, because we're putting on these brave faces and going to work every day. We're still trying to collect the check. We still have our own case of mental issues or family issues, or just being human in general that we're dealing with.
Right.
Just know when to shut it off, because we're also human as well. And
Right.
it's just not our job to be the only ones to speak up. So while I'm happy that we have allies, the ones that are not performative, know when to shut it off. Know when to
Right.
stop scrolling.
Uh, I mean, truer words. And I love how you touched on, I keep saying I love because I do, the resiliency of the Black community and how resilient we are about, we still have to go to work. We still have to raise our families. We still have to protect ourselves, but we are human. And people have likened people of color to be these hyper savage, just so many stereotypes that detract from the fact that we are human. In context about why someone is shot, it's not an isolated incident. It's multiple people over multiple years. So it's like we don't care. It does not matter. The fact of the matter is the behavior that's happening. Let's address that. It's this whataboutism that's happening. It's this whataboutism that's happening with people that are not Black. This is like
Mm,
shut that shit up.
yeah.
Either it's like there's no conversation, full stop, no conversation to be had about well he had bad credit or whatever it is. The
Let's
fact of the
stop
matter is
adding but. Let's stop adding
right,
while. Let's stop adding all this extra stuff
exactly,
to a scenario where this is a human being that is being murdered or is being, I believe now I saw that he was handcuffed to his hospital bed right now. It's
right,
just it's just too much.
right,
But I will say one thing I want to talk about, Jason, is the fact that so many people believe that the term that most Black people are strong is to our detriment.
hmm,
That's why you're seeing Black women who are not getting the right medical treatment whenever they're giving birth, or
yes,
all of
wow,
these different scenarios where Black people are not seen as normal, not seen as human. I think we've got to stop promoting that. Honestly, like, I think as Black people, we started it thinking that it was an empowering thing, the same way we thought Black Lives Matter was an empowering thing to say and it's supposed to lift us up. It gives us this stigma that we do not hurt, that we are not affected, that we can keep going when all these traumatic things happen. No, Black people need to take some time and go get help.
Mm-hmm.
Take time to take care of their mental health. We can be strong, but we can also get the help we need.
Yep. And the stigma of mental health in the Black community also needs an erasure. That's a whole other conversation, but I couldn't agree with you more, Courtney. I could not agree with you more. As someone who survived deep clinical depression, I understand the importance of a therapist, especially one, if you can find one, because therapy is expensive. People, it's kind of an elitist thing. Some people feel like, well, I can't afford therapy. You're fortunate and privileged to be able to have therapy. 100% get that. But there are also places that offer free therapy. And if you just Google and have resource and use your resources, there's a wealth of information that can lead you down the right path. So if anyone's watching that's looking for a mental health provider, there are tons of great resources that you can find. As a matter of fact, DM me and I'll help you out and get you on the right path. Full circle moments. Full circle moments is what I see when I think about you, because you have PA'd at E, you've worked at ET, you've cut your teeth, you've done everything, and now you had a season where you had to step away and not have any, you didn't have a net, you just leapt. And left, yeah, that's the word. You took a leap, you leapt. And you said, I gotta do what's right for me. You did that. And then you landed at a place that is celebrating you and that is so new and so incredible, which is Quibi, and you now on Close Up for E! News. Oh my gosh, when I heard that announcement, I couldn't have been happier and I didn't think, and I couldn't find a person who deserved it more than you. And now you're 100 episodes in quarantine. That journey, Courtney, it's gotta be like mind-blowing.
You know what it is? I feel like this is the dream, but we're living through a nightmare. So
Yeah, so
I'm trying
surreal.
to, yeah, I'm trying to be, I am very grateful. I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity to work for two amazing platforms, NBC and Quibi. But it's kind of a bittersweet moment when you're doing everything out of your home,
Yeah.
when you imagined it being in studio. The only thing I will say is, yes, it's a full circle moment when I look at how my 2019 was. You talk about me taking a huge leap of faith, and I ended up leaving my job, like you said, without a safety net. And that was one of the most transformative years for me. I think what a lot of people are experiencing now in 2020 was my 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it's full circle is not just because of E to EPA to E and Quibi hosts. It's the fact that I gave up at one point. And when I gave up, it was around September of me. I was just freelancing and still doing that hustle. And I ended up having a mini stroke and I lost all vision in my eye. And when I regained it and realized after going to the doctor that it was a stroke, I think that was more of a spiritual awakening for me, because to lose your vision, that means your career is over. How can you read a teleprompter? How can you do any of these things if you can't see? And I think God was reminding me why I came out here and why I was doing what I said I set out to do. Like, just because this is a stopping point does not mean this is the end.
Yeah.
And I had to keep going. And after having that mini stroke, I ended up landing an audition for the Quibi job. Had no idea that it was with E. You know, we go through this audition thing with several times and you hear back or you don't. And I was going through that with several opportunities. And when I ended up making it to the callback for the third time and found out that it was E, and I ended up getting the job, that for me was such an emotional experience, because right before then I just knew I was over. I knew that was it for me. I was going to give up. And I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm so glad God sat me down and I had that moment. Sadly, it had to be a health issue that awakened me, but that was my full circle moment. After having that health issue and having slurred speech for a moment after that, to get a job of this level was just like, wow, God, you've been on my side this entire time, but like you really just showed out. And I'm getting a little emotional, but
It's okay.
because like he just showed out. So yeah, it's like it's a huge full circle moment for me it's a huge win despite the pandemic trying to cancel everything. It's huge. And
Yeah.
this is everything that I came out to LA for. And I'm so grateful to be in a position where, like you said, I'm valued.
Right, right. And that testimony, like I'm getting emotional too because like
Oh,
you're so awesome. Like you're so amazing and it's just, people look for stories. I Google stories all the time about, people who were on the brink and they were going to give up and they came back. And as I said, they were a phoenix rising from the ashes. And you are probably one of the ones I will take with me for the rest of my life because for everything for you, because strength, Courtney, strength and to persevere and to know what you want and to just still be a good person. People don't come back from don't come back stronger with faith from a health scare like that. Don't come back stronger with faith from the constant back after back disappointments of this industry, and still be a good person and still be open and still be available and still be present and want to give. And you do, Courtney. And so I celebrate the shit out of you. And we're
oh,
so
thank
happy.
you.
And absolutely. And congratulations on 100 episodes because I don't, there isn't a better person that I know that deserves what you have. So I
Jason,
just,
don't make me
I'm
cry.
sorry.
We're not supposed to be on here crying.
I just think you're so awesome, Courtney, and I think that you're just an amazing person. So, and I told myself I wasn't gonna get emotional today. I don't know, maybe it's Miami, but or my dog. She smells like corn chips right now. But I think you're just a true angel, and you're awesome, and you're talented, and you deserve all the goodness that's happening to you. And I love watching you on Quibi, and you're just amazing. So, with
Yes,
that said,
this is the kind of friend we all need, Jason. That someone comments that, and Jason is the kind of friend that you need. The same emotions that you have over me, I have for you. Every time you win, I win. Every time something good happens in your life, I'm there for you. In your low moments, I'm there for you. So thank you for being that person for me. It's hard to come by good friends, and it's hard to come by talented talent like you. So please keep going because the way you're handling quarantine, child, I'm on the ground somewhere and you're doing a lot.
hey, look, we're out here in these streets. With someone, thank you for the kind words, One Court. I love you. Geraldine, what's up, bro? When someone comes up to Courtney Tezeno and says, Courtney, tell me who you are as a woman, what do you say to them?
Oh, wow. I say that I am a genuine woman. I'm a resilient woman. I I'm a person that cares about people, whether it's telling your story or being a listening ear. And I hope to be an example for young women to keep going after their dreams and to also still have their morals. Because
Right.
look, all we see on social media is people trying to get ahead quick, and you don't have to have a quick route in order to be successful. You can still be a good person, be a person of faith, and make it. And so I hope that I continue to be a role model for them and my children, God willing, down the line. But yeah, that's who I am.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful, Courtney. Deidre Behar says, before you wrap, Jay, I have to know what was Court's favorite interview to date. Court, what's been your favorite interview?
Oh, y'all ask that and y'all know that's a hard one. Uh, I used to have a favorite, and then some stuff happened with her. So a new favorite is actually coming up. Um, it's coming up on Quibi with Chloe and Hallie. And
Nice.
so you guys will have to tune in to see that conversation. But they're two incredible, phenomenal women that I've had the pleasure of interviewing before on the Grownish set. But the way they've transformed is just so inspiring. So that's one of my recent favorites.
Cool. That's cool. But Chloe, and they're not even having a moment. They're just like they're on their way to being cemented in R&B history if they're not already. And I'm my two daughters have two grown kids, but their daughter love Chloe and Hallie, so that's cool. I can't wait to see that interview. It's gonna be on Close Up, E News
By
Close Up on
Enos.
Quibi. There you
Yep.
go, Courtney. Adams. I'm trying not to be emotional anymore. Thank you for your time today. You're
Yes,
awesome.
of
You're
course.
incredible.
Anything for you.
Thank you. Where can they watch you, and how can they download the app and give us all the scoop?
So Close Up by E! News is on Quibi Monday through Friday. You can catch up on the app right now, all 5 episodes throughout the week. You can download Quibi by just going to the App Store, download it. There's an ad-free and an ad subscription that you can pay for, but there's a 90-day trial. So sign up for that. There's so many amazing scripted shows, non-scripted shows like Close Up. And then also on some e-platforms, you'll be able to catch snippets of our e-content. So they're YouTube, e-online, all the things. And then you can keep up with me at Courtney Tezeno. If you're watching now, just like click at the top at _Courtney Tezeno. And Jason, I have a podcast coming up, so you guys will be hearing a lot more from me soon.
Exclusive. Amazing. Court, thank you. Thank you for your time. I'm going to let you go because I know you got a lot to do. Good to see you. Thank you for your time. You're incredible. We exalt you. We celebrate you. We see you. We love you. And just keep on killing it, boo.
Thank you, Jason. Love you.
Mwah. Bye.
Bye.